everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Passing Under the Yellow. Morgan Baird here with Matt Kent. Today we're going to talk Bristol Dirt, Logano's smashing win, um, Larson dominating early in the Cup race, Priest versus Larson, the NASCAR inconsistent yellows, all that and a little bit more. I'm Passing Under the Yellow. Let's go. All right, so we're going to jump right into the truck series. Well, Matt, this is probably going to be the shortest part of a truck session we do all year because it was a pretty boring race all the way around for the most part. Not competitive. Logano basically was on a Friday night cruise there. That was, or whatever it was, Saturday. Just freaking, I think he led all but a couple laps in that race. Outside of that, I don't have too much for the truck series. It was rather boring as shit. We'll get into more of that later, I guess, as to why maybe that might be boring. I mean, do you have anything you can really talk about the truck series or
I got a couple
specifically a
things.
dirt? Yeah, let's hear
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a couple things I thought were interesting. First time in Truck Series history, I believe, I saw a stat somewhere that the first stage, the second stage, and the third stage all ended up with the same exact top three in every
That's
single,
that's
yeah,
pretty impressive. That's pretty
at the
wild.
finish of every one of them. So definitely would not have had Bristol Dirt as my race for that to happen.
Hmm
But I guess not really super surprising. And then Jake Garcia, we've been talking about him the last couple
Yeah,
weeks
what a
really
run.
well.
Yeah, holy
Another
hell.
another top
That's
sixth place
unreal.
for him.
Yeah, I
So
don't know what team is that 35 truck in that way he runs?
yeah,
What
he's
what team
they've
is
been
that?
they have been on a
I don't
roll.
even know what
So
damn team that is. I should know it's part of the show. It's probably knowing like what we're talking about. We're saying 35 truck, you idiot. Um, we'll get better.
we're gonna
But
keep saying
yeah,
that.
so who were the guys? Well, I'm actually not even going to get into it. Okay. Outside of that, I don't remember any wrecks, too bad of wrecks or anything in the truck series.
No, but speaking of a truck series wreck, Dean Thompson came back and got himself a 12th place finish at Dirt
Yep.
Bristol. So good
Yep. That's
comeback for
pretty
him.
good. Yep. Happy to see that for Dean. Matt, anything else to add to the Bristol dirt for the trucks?
Yeah, Jonathan Davenport. Jonathan Davenport started his first couple of NASCAR races this weekend,
Yeah,
and he
yeah, he
ended up
did.
with a top 15 in the truck. So I felt like that was a respectable run for him, especially he finished right behind Haley Deegan, who's been running trucks for 3 years and was probably in
Barely can
just as good
finish
of
in the top
equipment,
10
or
ever. Yeah.
actually was better equipment because Thorsport trucks were pretty crazy. So
Yeah. Yeah,
definitely,
they were.
definitely, Haley Deegan's got to start stepping it up. We've been talking about it. So that's all
Yeah,
I
I
got
mean,
for
I don't know if
trucks.
yeah, I mean, just to touch on Haley, I don't know if she has a year even remotely close to the last 2 years in trucks. How do you even, first of all, re-sign her to a truck or even choose to move her up? I mean, you got to have some sort of success, and you saw that with kind of Danica back in the day there. Really didn't have much success in lower series, and she just got pushed up. I think Ford's kind of invested. I don't know how that's going to work out. Could you imagine if in some galaxy far away, he takes that Ford car next year at Stewart Haas? I mean, could you imagine? Could you put it out of the question, really? Could you really? I think Zane Smith is probably the best young prospect of any series right now. I mean, you got guys like Riley Herbst, Brandon Jones, been around wrecking shit for plenty of time, and they don't look. I mean, if there had been a race this week, I bet Brandon Jones would have fucking crashed it. I can tell you that. So yeah, outside of that, I think she's got to do something big this year. So we will go to the Cup Series. It kind of started off, I think, the night before. Actually, the dirt race Bristol was, I think, the Cup race or the heats were on that night. It was pretty cool to watch the heat race. It's not bad. Thought the biggest story of it was JJ Yaley in that Rick Ware car, finishing third or whatever he did after starting last. It's pretty
Yeah, it
sweet.
was awesome.
And in that equipment, that's pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
exactly.
So I don't know. Sorry.
Truthfully, in that same heat, Matt Crafton actually was, and he replaced Cody Ware this weekend. But I mean, Crafton was really moving up through the field pretty good there at the end, and honestly looked pretty good. I think he said, I don't know if it was true or not, but he said that he was the fastest truck on the track the last couple laps. So,
It looked like it.
or fastest car on the track. I'm so used to him being in a truck, but yeah, I mean he was good too. The Rick Ware cars really were running pretty good. I think they ended up with top 20s, so pretty solid weekend for them overall. But But yeah, no, we're
Up until you get to the Cody Ware part where he tried to strangle his girlfriend. That was pretty good weekend up until that probably all happened. Well,
well,
actually, that happened. That happened before then.
yeah, well, we're innocent until proven guilty, so we'll see what happens there. But
Yeah, it runs. Yeah, his brother did something stupid like that at one point too. I guess. So I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess all you can do is kind of just hope that he figures it out.
yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
Outside of the Rick Ware stuff, we'll go just into the Cup race. Larson pretty much dominated early. I thought it was a good race. I really did. I thought it was a very competitive. Um, I thought it was very competitive, and I thought there's more lanes there that they could run than at frickin' you compare that to California almost. They're running 4 or 5 wide at some points. So that was pretty. I liked that. I mean, anything from the first 2 stages from you?
Not necessarily from the first two stages, but from the race overall. I mean, I just want to say Bristol dirt needs to stay, or at least a dirt track. They finally figured out, like the first year at this, it was kind of a flunk. I'll be honest. I didn't think the first year was great. It really did kind of suck. I mean, they had to go single file. They had a dry track. No, the track prep was not very good. This year they nailed it. Track prep was fantastic. Track had a ton of character over in 3 and 4 with the big bumps. And I know with the next gen cars, that thing does not like any kind of character in a racetrack, which makes it a great show for us. So, uh, Bristol
Right.
dirt, or at least some kind of dirt track in the Cup Series it's got to be present. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know everybody's kind of been on the train of, hey, we're moving back to the concrete, whatever. I mean,
I
I don't
hope
think
we do.
it's a great call. I don't think it's a great
I
call
mean, I
because
I
the
thought the
attendance
race
in the
was good. I
past.
think every year it's gotten better for sure.
Yeah.
They've had to learn kind of the rough way. With how there's so many issues the first couple years. Really, there was. Um, the first year was so dusty. Second year, they learned it's good. I think they've learned a lot up until this point. It was successful. I think the big thing is it was on Easter. No, none of the drivers like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think and to just kind of go back to the track itself, I think the thing that improved from improved from year one to year two was, as Larry Mack would say, the nighttime is the right time.
Yep, absolutely. So, to touch on what do we got next year? I liked how early on in the race NASCAR was consistent for the first 90% of the race. They were 90, or they were consistent on how they were going to throw the yellows. And if someone spun, they're out of the way. They're going to let them go, and I thought that was fantastic. They were doing great at it. They made all the right calls that I would have made up until they threw that damn yellow. With I think Larson's was the first one, right? Because
Yep. Single
Larson's
car.
was the single car spin off the track. Look, no difference than the other 17 before that. That happened to. And then the one that really, really ruined the race was the Kyle Busch one. I mean, I don't know if you saw the onboard. He spins off a floor and just glides right onto pit road. It was ridiculous. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. Unbelievably terribly inconsistent call. It ruined the whole race. It really ruined the whole race.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think the last caution they threw when Ross Chastain was sitting up at the top, they had to throw that caution there. They let it go. See NASCAR, you let it go as long as you could there, and I am not mad about that. When I see a car they're coming up on 150 miles an hour quicker and they throw it right when they get to. Fuck yeah, throw that. Let's do that. Let's keep that same mentality for the super speedways. Let's do that. Please, let's do that. Sorry. I just, I hate that because that was going to be shaping up to be a heck of a battle that I thought Reddick was probably going to get though. Even in that last corner, Reddick was going to just send that shit.
He said, "We'll never know if the move would have worked.
Yeah.
Who knows if it would have just been the same move as Briscoe tried to pull a year prior and didn't work out, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
Save it for next year." Just kidding. They're not going back there next year.
It does not sound good. I
No.
mean, I don't mind it.
I wish they
Could be
would,
worse.
but I don't think they are.
But hey, if it's not good next year, I think you give the date away to somewhere else. Rockingham. You never know in a couple years. We can talk about Ryan Preece and Larson. I felt like and Denny touched on this. I always refer to Denny and DBC and stuff like that, but um, he did a good job, and he's like, dude, I love Larson, but this is what he does. Basically, in very nice words, says Larson pretty much races like a little bit of a douchebag from time, most of the time, just puts guys in bad spots, makes them have to lift. He's done it to him all a bunch of times, and he's like, from what I saw there on that original replay, that Larson pretty much put Priest into a spot that he's gonna have to say you're gonna lift or you're gonna get put in the fence, and Priest didn't lift. He went to the fence, and then Priest is in the back, and they're both fighting for spots, getting back to the field after Kyle wrecked, spun by himself. I don't understand the damn call to not take tires when they did that. All right, to kind of touch back on the Larson and Priest deal, Larson spun out. So then he's back there with Priest, and I don't think what Larson understands is Priest is back there because when Larson put him into the fence, they broke a rear what's the tie rod in the rear end?
Yeah, the toe link.
Toe link. Just drew a blank. So broke a toe link, and they had to repair it. He was in the back, and then they're both back there. And so Priest is pissed because he kind of came over the radio and said at the beginning, game on, So I was like, oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, you race like that from time to time. If you're Larson, you got to get it back. But then back there, it looked like they were just racing hard. And I mean, obviously, with what happened with Hamlin last week, these drivers are going to be tight lipped at this point. They're going to say nothing because can't do anything that would put himself in jeopardy to even be suspicious. Because I thought, Denny's, obviously, we touched on that. Denny's appeal, he lost the appeal after getting great data. He said he still doesn't understand it, which I totally agree. It makes no fucking sense how he got that fine from what he did with Ross and Phoenix. But yeah, obviously they rack off the 2. It looked like to me Larson hung a straight left and tried to just destroy Priest.
I would say that. Yeah, I would say
he
that.
Said he was broke.
Well, it's just like Priest. He's not going to say he did it unintentionally.
Yeah,
you can't.
And it was the one time this year I picked Larson. I was like, he's gonna shit on him. He's got the pole. I think it was they lost race when they decided not to take tires. I just don't.
And that was his call. And that was his call.
He's a dirt guy. He gets it. I don't. Maybe after this year I'll get you, Kyle. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I thought Bell and Reddick were the 2 best other cars. I thought Austin Dillon ran pretty well. I know Stenhouse finished up in the top 5. There's some good finishes. Good finishes up there for some guys who usually aren't up there. So
Austin Dillon, one of them. I mean, he actually not only did he finish up there, but I mean, he ran up there the whole day. He started second, finished second, I think, in both stages, and ended up third in the race. So
yeah, he did.
Hell of a day. Points day. Great. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel like he is someone who underratedly has a shit ton of pressure on them this year. I feel like because Kyle's going to go out and run good no matter what every freaking weekend. He is the standard. He already proved 2 races in or whatever he could win. Yeah, Austin Dillon, if you don't make the playoffs this year, I mean, Jesus, leave. Probably. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, I mean, outside of the race, anything you want to touch on race related?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the same players were up front as last year, and 2 with the track prep the way it was. I mean, like I said, they really nailed it, and by the end of the race, it was just so tough to drive that it turned into a dirt race. At the beginning, it might not have been, a dirt race, but like by the end, when the track was slicked off and all the way to the top, and guys were running the cushion, all the dirt guys were at the front.
Yeah,
so
it was a good race.
Mattered.
I thought it was the best, one of the top 2 or 3 races of the year, and that's saying
easily.
It's bad, And we touched on, we spoke a little bit earlier in the week about how bad the viewership has been down in NASCAR. It sucks, but it's really across all sports. The umbrella statement you could kind of make is it's all sports. But down is down. There's no doubt about it. I don't know what's going to happen. Something else we can kind of touch on is, this week there was supposed to be a meeting between the owners and the drivers for the new deal that's coming up, and the owners mutually agreed, I guess, to not attend that meeting, sending a pretty large message to NASCAR. I feel like Denny was pretty open about that on his podcast as to why and what. And he's like, we didn't call each other up and say, hey, are you guys going? We're not going. He's like, we just kind of all made that decision as our own, and we all knew that we probably weren't going to be going, but Yeah, I think that's a big statement because NASCAR holds the tracks and a lot of the money, but NASCAR the teams bring the show. So I don't know why NASCAR is being such dicks about giving them a larger piece of the pie. They deserve it, and honestly, I think if they did that, it could be a lot more situations where teams can afford to go out and get drivers and help develop people. Actually how it should be. I don't know why NASCAR is against this. I think they're just being greedy a little bit. I don't know. I don't know enough, but I wish I did because it's super. This part of the sport and stuff is very intriguing to me. So I wish I understood it more. And that's something we can always touch on in later episodes as stuff starts to develop, and that will happen because that these talks are supposed to be starting here in the next couple of weeks to a couple of months on this deal. So it's important. It's very, very important to see where these billions of dollars go. So it's important. Other than that, we touched on the Denny appeal. He lost that. Gave good. I recommend everyone listen to Denny's podcast. I think it's fantastic. I've become a very large fan of it. Lost his appeal. That's wild. And the colleague appeal, they somehow lost. Or did we already touch on this last week? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, they got their stuff reduced.
Yeah, I'm gonna go right past that. I guess we can kind of end on Bristol. Is do we go back there next year? And if we don't, do we go back to the concrete surface, or do we go to somewhere else?
You got to go back. I said it already, man. I'm thinking I mean,
it's the best damn track. Run it at night. Run 2 freaking Bristol dirt nights. It's better at night. I don't know. They're started at freaking 11:30 on Sunday. It'd be the best damn.
They really got to just change the time of year. I mean,
the track temperature. They need that track.
It rains every year. It rains every year.
We see I don't necessarily know. This weekend it's supposed to be 90 degrees.
Yeah.
So it's great. Complete opposite ends of the spectrum there. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just interesting to kind of see how that. I think Brad Keselowski put an interesting thing on Twitter today. I don't know if you saw it, but he's like, my idea for 3 weeks off a year for the drivers. I think he said once after the West Coast swing, and then once. I'd have to pull it up, but his made a shit ton of sense. Like the timing of the year, of when they would all have off, and he's like, on this weekend it's always cold anyways, and there's nowhere to race early in the season, so we might as well have an early off weekend in the year. I like that. Push the year. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But outside of that, we can preview. What were our picks at? Who did I
Bristol
pick?
Dirt. I picked Kyle Busch just for the sake of picking him.
I can't remember who I picked. Reddick. I picked Reddick.
You did pick Reddick, which was a great pick. Second place again.
All the picks I make in my money league that means something always fuck me. So I'm glad I'm doing something good on here. This means nothing. We're not keeping any points. I couldn't tell you who I picked 2 weeks ago, but how about we do some picking for Martinsville?
Yeah, Hendrick car, any of them.
I agree. I was gonna say Bowman. That's my pick. He's due. He's just sitting back there in the weeds, waiting for everyone to wreck in front of him to go steal a win or something right now. So I think it's a good time. Or we can just drive straight to Hamlin. Denny Hamlin made a bold statement saying him and his team are about to be white hot for the next 6 weeks. So,
all right.
And he's really good at Martinsville. It's one of his best tracks. So if I'm not picking a Hendrick car, I'm picking probably a Gibbs car. I'll pick Hamlin. I got 2 picks. You get 2 picks.
Well, it's hard for me to not go with a Hendrick car with how good they've been there lately.
Yep. Does Chase come back and do the unthinkable? Welcome back, Chase Elliott, by the way. He's coming back this week.
That would be pretty wild, but I think he's gonna struggle. I mean, I can't imagine.
I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Berry gets in that car. I heard he's on standby. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in it. I think and you're coming back before Talladega too. I don't understand that. I mean, hey, if he wants to race, he's got to make that money. You want to race, you want to race. But I guess his rehab has been going well and shit. So, had boy Chase.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's gonna win. But I mean, who knows? Hopefully he runs good. It'd be really cool. He'll be playoff eligible and be right back in the playoffs immediately. So.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what? I think Christopher Bell's been on a really hot streak.
Yeah. He's been the best Gibbs car, Toyota car all year by far.
I wanted to touch on that too. Yeah, I mean he's the points leader now, and we're a quarter of the way into the season, so I feel like the point standings as they are probably
You never know. I mean,
fairly
I
reasonable.
I think you get guys like Denny, a couple of these, Bowman, Chase. Once them guys start to win, I think they're going to win multiple races.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we're going to have more than 18, 16 winners this year. I think we went over that in our first podcast. I think their points are going to matter. I think there's going to be guys with 3-4 wins. So, yeah, 100 car or a good car. So, anything else to wrap up our Martinsville or our Bristol recap?
I don't think so. I think that's it. I think I'm going with Christopher Bell again at Martinsville. I think he's going to go the last two.
Back. All right, cool. Sounds good. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I know we get these out a little late. We're going to start committing to doing that a little bit better. But for those of you that listen, keeping it real, thank you so much. What if you do one episode where me and Matt both drink a couple beers and come on here and start talking about iRacing and stuff or something that might.
Yeah, well, and speaking of iRacing, I feel bad for the real drivers if the real life Cup cars handle and drive anything like the ones on iRacing, because that is miserable.
Yeah, I'm so glad it
miserable.
We're getting up last night.
I came back for a top 7 after 5.5 minutes of damage.
When I saw you were way in the back. Yeah, you were just
I ran the entire race in the back. 5.5 minutes of damage. Got a free pass. He was racing. He was lead with like 2 or 3 to go, and Corey Heim gave him the old boot, scoot, and boogie.
Oh, he got Heim. Nichols got Heim. You don't see that very often with Zach. Was it a clean race or what?
I mean, Zach probably wasn't too happy with it.
He dishes it out pretty good. He's probably the best damn iRacer I know. I can't believe you let him get to him. So
that's what.
All right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up this week. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next week.
Love it when it's forward. Love it when it's fast. Love it when the leader's caught the pack is moving past. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear the double say.